to the Tranquili-Tease. I'm your host, Marina, and today I just want to encourage you to unconditionally love yourself. In other words, stop coping and just break down already. Like, sometimes life hands us really uncomfortable and difficult and sometimes downright embarrassing situations, right? And they make us feel like there's just no way that there's a tomorrow. In this episode, I'm not going to try to tell you how to cope or how to get through these things, but rather I want to just tell you a couple stories and, give you some insight into what happens after the breakdown and just like getting through the breakdown. And in fact, that there is another side of said breakdown. I just want to inspire you to help you get through this day, or maybe get through a future breakdown that you will inevitably have, because welcome to being human. Now, before we completely dive in, please be sure to click subscribe, click follow, depending on whatever site you're on. Just go ahead and click those buttons. That way I can ensure you get the content you need when you need it. And as an exciting little addition, usually this podcast is on Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube, but now I am going to start posting it to Instagram as sort of an IGTV series, because why the fuck not? So here we go, let's just dive right in. Story number 1. So this story is about Marie Forleo, and for those of you who have been tuning in to my previous episodes in the past, I talk about her all the time. She's the one that wrote the book, Everything is Figure Outable. She's the one who very often, if you hear me saying, clarity comes from engagement, not thought. Stuff like that. Like she is my all-time number one favorite mentor because of the fact that she was the one who kind of helped me make the decision to go pro, if you will. And I did so by taking her program, B School. B School is this really awesome program that does a couple things. One, you've got lifetime access to this course that's like equivalent to a master's degree in business for many, many ways. But also you get this fantastic community of other fellow B schoolers. So what does that mean? There's about, I don't even know, anywhere between 30 and 60,000 of us now who've gone through this program, and we're all just entrepreneurs that come from the heart space. So by that I mean that our businesses center around the concept of serving others. Like your business, you're not just in the business of getting rich quick, right? Like you're in the business to help people, to make the world a better place, and to use your unique talents to do so. And lastly, she gives a lot of technical stuff. So it's not just like love yourself, like it's straight up like business boot camp. Like it's very hard, it's very challenging. So the people who go through that program, when you connect with them, it's on this level that like if you haven't done it, it's just like, man, how do you even explain it to someone, right? So that all being said, I personally believe half the value of taking B School was being able to join all of these groups that have all of these people from all different walks of life. Therefore, if I need a graphic designer, if I need a CPA, if I need, someone to help me with my website, if I need a distributor, if I need anything, I can just go to my B schoolers and, be like, hey, I need this service from someone, or I need this product. Who wants to team up with me and, go into business together? And then boom, it's right there. So because of that aspect, community is really important. So fast forward to June, really end of May. The Facebook group of B School has about 30,000 people in it, so it's a little bit smaller than the main stage of the program, which happens on Marie Forleo's website itself. And Facebook was always kind of like an auxiliary thing, but something that we all cherished, right? That being said, there was a team of moderators. There were rules that we had to follow in terms of no just shitty selling to each other directly into the group. But if you have any questions you have for people about how to run a business, or you need, like I said, collaborations, then that was all cool. Once all the racial tensions in the United States starting to get really hot and heavy, so did this Facebook group, because naturally we are a group of people, carepreneurs, entrepreneurs who care, who want to make the world a better place. So we have questions, and so it got really uncomfortable in there for a good reason, because people were asking the hard questions that you hope would be asked, right? Like, if this is, what should I do to fix this part of my business, this or that, or is this viewed as problematic, or why not? And so there were very lively debates, but again, I cannot stress enough how beautiful this community is, because it never really escalated to the point of name calling or fuck your business or cancel culture or anything. Like, it was always very like, hey, like, just let you know, you might want to check yourself here. Here are some resources. Like, and then of course there are some people in there who were minorities of all different types, but specifically Black, who were like, hey, I've actually started a business and devoted my entire life to trying to heal these systemic racial inequalities. So let me have some say. So there was a lot going on. There were a lot of different opinions about this. Some people were like, oh my God, we're so glad that Marie Forleo started this group. We're all having these conversations. We're learning so much. We're having all these new business resources. Now I know how to be better. Now I know how to do better, hire better people, so on and so forth. Then you've got this other group of people who were very much like, this sucks. This is no longer a safe space. This is really uncomfortable. I don't know why, why these tensions have to come into business. Slow dramatic pause there, because obviously that was just kind of like a very vocal minority of people who were confused by that concept. Mostly a lot of older people, not to be ageist, but ugh. I'm not even going to get into that. Anytime you say a statement like that, that's about to be problematic. Anyway, point of this story is there were some outdated perspectives that were happening in this group, and it was uncomfortable, but we were working through it like adults, and it was great. But the pressure got to Marie. So what happened was, she was listening, she was going into the group herself, not just her mods, at least once a week to try to collect as much information as possible. She poured thousands of dollars into creating a new mini program, like a mini series for B-schoolers to learn more about how to make their business more accessible, more, a little bit more in rhythm with the conversation that was having in the group. Again, people didn't like it, and rightfully so, because you're not just going to get right away, and that's totally fine. That's a process, but that doesn't change the fact that it's hard, right? And as much as we all, put our heroes on a fucking pedestal, as much as I love Marie, she's still just a human. Can you imagine trying to deal with a dilemma like that with 30,000 people just on Facebook alone? But she's got almost 500,000 people on all the other platforms. Oprah named her thought leader of a generation. Can you imagine having that much pressure and then have that situation happen in your Facebook group? So she tried for a couple months. She tried very, very hard. And then it kind of surprised us a couple weeks ago. She just left. She did end up doing one little stream and was like, kind of just realized I need to learn more. I need to go. I'm not doing my job here. You guys are asking for more independence. You don't want us to moderate, but then you were moderating too much. Like, I don't know really what you want from me anymore. I don't know that this is my place to be, because Marie is white, so that's important to say there. So she left. And she said, I'm really excited about the fact that I may not be able to change much because this is Facebook at the end of the day. She's like, but I can go over to my home, which is her website. She's like, I can go over there and take care of the community there, where it is 100% under my control and not dealing with also all of the other bullshit of Facebook. Whether or not that was the reality, people got really upset again, and other people were very understanding. A lot of back and forth. A lot of, on one hand, maybe you're a narcissist because you're just saying you're straight up excited to leave us and do this thing and you don't want to deal with the problem. Other people were saying, you know what, thank you so much. We did ask for independence and you gave it to us and we don't want to be moderated anymore, so thank you. All over the place. I still don't know exactly where I stand on this because it's still happening, and it takes a long time to learn, but I would like to introduce you to a beautiful B-schooler by the name of Leona Carter, and I'm going to put all of her links in the description so you can find her very easily. But what she had to say was the most beautiful in regards to Marie Forleo and her actions and her, what I'm calling, a breakdown in this situation. So basically, a breakdown doesn't always have to look any certain way, right? Some people, they throw things and they take it from a wrath perspective. Some people get really sad and withdrawn. Some people disassociate and just kind of, they're like, it's fine, everything's fine, we're gonna figure it out. Then the path is that way. I'm just gonna keep going on the path and I'll eventually figure it out. I kind of fall in that last category a little bit myself. So honestly, seeing Marie's reaction, the way that she was like, you know what, I fucked this part up, I'm not really sure what to do with this anymore, I'm just gonna go fix that fire over there first. I understand that reaction, and so did Leona. And the way that she described it was in the lens of unconditional love. So I'm not going to sit here and tell this woman's story. I don't know that that's an appropriate thing to do. But if you head on over to her site, she is such an empowering woman with so many incredible stories, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But she basically said that everybody has their own ways of coping, and we, as the non-person having the breakdown, have to have some understanding for that. So one person's breakdown is not going to look the same as another's. And on top of that, some people need to fall a couple times before they get it. So this idea of cancel culture, of immediately getting mad at someone or immediately judging someone's breakdown and being like, you fucking suck at this, you're done, goodbye for the rest of my fucking life, right? Is this helpful? No. Hopefully this is a conversation you've already heard a million times, so I don't need to go that far into it, but basically what Leona had talked about was the fact that when someone's going through something, you just want to be able to practice loving them and understanding that, look, this person doesn't understand. We are not technically on the same page. I don't agree with this person's reactions necessarily. I'm not saying this is their best selves, but I will love them to the finish line. This is just a hurdle, right? This is just a moment in their life. Is it a defining moment? That's for them to decide, and that's for time to tell. That's not for you to sit and judge and take it in as your own problem and take it in as your own and re-traumatize, just causing this cycle of just stress and sadness and hurt and pain. Would you want someone to do that to you? So again, Leona Carter put this thought in my brain, and it has just been sitting with me again and again because of the way that she described it specifically with unconditional love. And the reason I keep saying that over and over again is because when I break down, which we'll head into story number 2, I don't have that same grace for myself. And I thought that it might be helpful for you today. So before I continue, I just want to give that shout out. So heycoachcarter.com is Leona Carter's website, and her little blurb is as follows. So if it resonates with you, please go check her out. Leona empowers married professional women to show up unapologetically in her brilliance, her business, and her bedroom so that she can dominate her brand, share her story, enhance her intimacy through the braless experience. Damn, Leona Carter, you are a fucking hero. So that being said, let's jump into story number 2, which turns a little bit inward so that this kind of makes sense as to why this unconditional love for others will help you in your breakdown. So I've spent the last 2 months really breaking down. Why? Because I've spent more than a decade numbing myself and disassociating myself from some pretty dark shit, which I will get into a lot more in some future episodes. But let's get through this one first. I've spent the last few years unpacking this and healing, and especially with these past few months of just kind of being stuck at home, not being able to perform, I've been diving even further into it, which, what does that cause? A fuckload of breakdowns. So to unpack the worst of it, you have to sort of relive it, right? So that means that you sort of have to hit rock bottom again in order to really get that garbage fully out of your system. So I did that, probably still doing that. It's a lot, but I, over the past couple months have done a lot of confronting people. I did a lot of confronting those in my life who caused me the worst harm. And I watched their reactions remain completely unchanged, which kind of completed the perspective shattering I needed in order to confirm my suspicions of their toxicity, right? So, in other words, instead of me just consistently speaking poetically here, I, confronted a family member about their abuse, and I got nothing but defensiveness and you're wrong. So it kind of just proved to me that my suspicions were right. And so instead of falling back into that cycle of, oh yeah, I am fucking dumb, like it's not my, I was wrong, it wasn't abuse, like I'm just over exaggerating because I'm too emotional, blah, 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 blah. No, I got the answer I needed. So the past couple months have really been, for me, all about creating a lot of space for new. And that's that's what I like to refer to as when shit hits the fucking fan and is taken away from you and you're really upset about it and you just, your job's gone, your money's gone, your passion's gone, your art's gone, your stage is gone. I just call it creating space. It's the only way I'm able to, that's my coping mechanism, if you will, right? I just keep telling myself over and over again, this must be the universe's way of creating space because something big is happening next. Me getting through all of this, not as if there's a reward, but more so that there is now space, all of that mental space that all of the bullshit was taking up in my life. I'm taking care of that now so that there's more space, right? So on top of that, like deleting the out-of-date information, so to speak, on top of that, I've been also reprogramming the neural networks in my brain that I found the source error for, if you will. In other words, again, my shitty behaviors that were caused by the toxic abuse that had occurred. It doesn't matter that, like, I'm not just going to sit here and victimize myself and pretend like that is a reason for me to deserve to still be shitty to other people, right? So in this healing process, there are a lot of coping mechanisms to get me through the long haul. But that being said, at some point I had to break down, right? Like, it's cathartic, but with hindsight, it's also absolutely exhausting. The only way out is through. So know that whatever you're dealing with, it sucks. And it's going to keep sucking. But everything after rock bottom is really great. So again, I just want to rewind 1 second and say that in a little bit more of colloquial speak, since I know I tend to get a little poetic here. What I'm saying is, I'm using all of these mindfulness techniques to go through years and years and years of trauma to heal the shit out of myself, right? And in order to last in the endurance race of getting through the massive pile of shit I should have just already dealt with, in order to get through that, you need coping mechanisms, right? Because if it was like, I got through this much, I got through about 20% of it, breakdown, it's kind of hard to get that momentum back up to get through the other 80%, right? So coping mechanisms help us get to the finish line of processing, if you will. That being said, every once in a while, just like your car needs an oil change, you need one too. And what is that oil change? Is with your tears. Lubricate these little eyeballs, baby. Do it. or whatever a breakdown means to you. So if that means that you need to safely find a way to break something, like one of my favorite things to do in that regard, if you're feeling that angsty, put some old things you don't need that can't really serve any more use, that make loud noises, put them in a bag. You can, smash them on the ground, make sure no one else is around and everybody's safe. Maybe you want to burn some stuff. Maybe you like to throw it in a campfire. Maybe you're writing out, you're just like, man, this thing fucking sucks. This thing makes me angry. Oh, this person hurt me. Meh. You write it on a piece of paper, you burn it. Cool. Everybody has their own, I don't need to sit here and tell you how to break down. But what I am saying is I've hit rock bottom multiple times in my life, and I focused a lot on coping and not getting through, not being mindful. And it just led me into deeper, murky waters because of the fact that I never got to recharge. And the cool part about a breakdown is that it allows you to recharge because you've lost everything that you were holding on to. And let's put it this way. If I'm holding on to a bag of shit, and that shit is literally, whether you want to think about it as metaphorical little poops, or you want to think about it as little boxes inside of this bag. Each box, each piece of shit is full of a trauma or a trigger or something that really got to you, right? It's in this box. Coping helps you get strong to hold on to it, but wouldn't it be great if you could just get rid of it? And I'm not saying that it's not yours forever, but what I'm saying is by integrating it into your being, you no longer have to carry it. It is now a part of you. I'm pausing because I know that sounds really scary. You're like, but I hate this thing. This thing makes me cry. This thing makes me angry. This thing that made me break down, I don't want to be a part of me anymore. Well, the more you reject it, the more problems it'll continue to cause. The more it'll force you to cope. The more it'll force you to not fucking just break down already. So just break down. Break down. Have the beautiful cathartic tears, and we'll talk a little bit more about what it means to integrate it into who you are with future episodes. But I just want you to know that even your heroes break down sometimes, and no matter what, people are going to kind of judge wherever it is that you're coming from because it's a mirror reflection of them. Look, coping is great. I'm not saying coping is not great, but what I am saying is that coping is great short term. It's like a nap, right? But sometimes you need to break down in order to get that deep, restful sleep. And why is that? Easy. Because in order to release yourself from the grip that a trauma has over you, you need to recognize that you're the one holding that grip. Look, the trauma is a part of you. You can't erase your memory. Even if you can erase your memory in your mind, your body's still going to remember it, right? That's the definition of a trigger. Like, that's the definition of a reaction. Like, you don't have control over it. It's just programmed into you. So if you integrate that trauma, you now have control over releasing the grip it has over you. By recognizing that something is a part of you now and stop denying it, it's just going to be so much easier to move forward, right? Basically, if you can just be confident in one thing, I ask it to be this. Do you remember when you were a kid and you'd cry from getting hurt or something would happen and you would have that really ugly cry? It was a very different noise. It kind of came from this guttural place, right? Like it just sounded weird and different compared to the fancy adult cry is what I like to call it now, when it's just a pretty soft tear, or silent and nothing's happening, or you're keeping your sobs in, so it's just like a little sniffle, right? Just remember back to when you're a kid and try to cry like that. Try to break down like that when you are in a safe place and by yourself that doesn't hurt other people, right? Because I found that even though I was spending years crying, I still had this weird internal monologue that was like, don't cry too loud, like, don't make a big deal of it, don't be such a drama queen, because those are things that we hear when we're kids, when we're, you know, when we're hurt and we're crying in these guttural ways because it really did hurt. It was our first time experiencing these pains, and we have all these adults telling us, you know, don't respond to pain like that. It's unhealthy. So what I'm asking you to do is, again, just like remember your child self and just break down with them. Okay? And if someone's going to judge you about it, and if you're worried about the potential for the breakdown causing harm to other people, I get it. I get it. I get it. I feel you, and that's okay. But also just recognize that while that is a fear, and that is a thing that could potentially happen, it's going to happen regardless of if you have a breakdown or not, because that says a lot more about them than it does about you. Okay? So please tell me about your experience with breaking down. Head on over to the YouTube comment section or the Instagram comment section if you'd like as well. Please don't be shy. On a final note, if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, The Martian Gazette, I highly recommend it because it is a free sporadic dose of love, beauty, and pleasure. For more information, check out the description or just head on over to marinamars.com. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Until next time, my loves. XOXO.